Holy smokes, Nolan Wells. Okay, I did my first remote viewing a week ago on Nolan Wells. It was in a video titled Two Crazy Cases, House of Horrors, Children of the Ohio 16. And the second half of the video, I dug into Nolan Wells. And in that video, I'll pull it up here for you here in case you missed it. So July 19th, in this video, I said several things that later came out to be statements in the news, which included, I'm going to show you a chart as well in a second, and then I'm going to go in and show you the second remote viewing I did yesterday. And at the very end of this, I'll give you an update for those of you that want to stick around as to why I haven't slept and looked like this, and it involves my poor kitten, Pixie. And why I missed our first members live. I'm so sorry for last night. I had to take her to the emergency vet. Very traumatic. So that's at the end. But first, let's get into what ChatGTP found that I said in my first remote view that later came out to be shown. And that was, okay, my first remote viewing session, I said Nolan stayed behind while his friends left the island. It was later public information that the friends later stated that he remained on Horn Island after they departed. There was news clips confirming he stayed behind. Yeah, I guess there's not timestamps on those, so I'm kind of not sure about that. But their friends are saying he stayed behind. Okay, I saw a vision of him talking to this blonde girl, and that blonde girl was shown at the end of that video with Pascal, with Nolan walking with her in the water, and Katie McCormick herself later confirmed she spoke with him. Okay, and that was shown in an interview in an article. And again, I focused on this blonde girl that later confirmed to be Katie, the one he was speaking with. I also was able to get in my remote viewing that he did say to his friends, watch for my phone. I'm going to stay behind. I'll get a ride. As I saw him leave, his friends leave, he was watching his friends leave in the water. And yeah, then we're seeing footage of him with Katie in the water, or this boat, Big Daddy. I don't really know at that point, other than, additional photos seem to be expanding the timeline. We get the coroner's report, which I'm adding to this, that I said I felt like perhaps somebody came in from behind, that there was a fight. Katie has become a primary witness, which, is something I alluded to in the first reviewing. Additional photos show Nolan interacting with other people, and that I had said he stayed behind with friends. The timeline is being questions, of course, but here's the things that's not confirmed yet. I saw someone watching Nolan. There's no public information of that. I actually didn't see the guy, and I'm going to say guy because I feel energy, right? For the love of God. I didn't see him. I felt him. I felt him present. So let me make myself smaller. I felt him present. So this is what chat again is saying when I put in my transcript from the last video and what was said by me, what was later confirmed and not confirmed here. Okay. I felt he was being watched. And I saw him approaching two girls, which I said was the blonde, which I'm leading with is Katie. Now that, Katie says that she was with him. We see pictures now, I guess chat's suggesting that we can't really say that the woman I saw him talking to is Katie. Well, I think it was. Then we see here, I said in this first remote viewing that there was this jealous, I guess this boyfriend energy of Katie's. I don't really know. That it led into physical fight, slurs, racial slurs, somebody covering Nolan's mouth, and some surprise somebody coming up from behind him. And I see like him unconscious in the water. So the other thing I want to go to is I want to remind everybody, okay, no one remote viewing is ever 100% accurate, but I did feel him in the water floating like alive, but unconscious. I did sense an altercation, and some of that comes up in the second remote viewing, and some of it has to be ironed out. Now, I said to you I was going to do a new format. For those of you that are new here, by the way, welcome and thank you, everybody. I don't normally look this tired. It's all good. It's all good. I never claim one remote viewing or one tarot reading or one thing to be factual. And so what I want to start doing, what you're seeing here, the start of, is go more with patterns, if you will, from various psychic works. So I'm going to show you my second remote viewing of Nolan Wells. And then when I have had more sleep, I'm going to add tarot readings and automatic writing in one reading, and then we can compare in a chart what the energies are saying, where there's similarities, where I need to clarify, where I maybe went wrong. And then hopefully you'll be able to learn through this analysis of these different modalities, as I will, more in depthly, because there's different energies involved in remote viewing versus tarot versus automatic writing. So that's where we're headed. I was hoping to do that for you in this reading, but y'all, I'm too tired to pull cards and accurately read them. So I want to show you now my second remote viewing of Nolan Wells. And, you know, I'm just going to say it. I very upset, right, with the more I think about this, with right now in the moment, with the race card, and I'm not getting into it. I'm just one statement only I want to make. It's like I really didn't want to cover this case because it's such a deterrent for me. Like, I understand, and I can't. Let me just redact that. I was going to say I can empathize with what his parents must be going through. I cannot understand it, but I don't like all the focus on the race card, and it almost kept me from wanting to cover this case because of it. It's appalling. If race was involved, I'd say it. I said it with nanos, but I don't think that's the case here. I really don't. Anyways, that's said. Enough said. Let me read to you now my notes from my second remote viewing with Nolan Wells, and we'll compare the two. And if you want me to keep working on Nolan Wells, let me know below. And what do you think happened, before the end of this video? Tell me what you think. Do you think this was a nefarious act that's being hidden? Was it an accident? I'm ruling on something nefarious happened, which I'm surprised by. I really did not expect it. Honestly, I did not expect it. And so when I show you now and read through with my second remote viewing notes, I second guessed myself so many times, not second guessed, but went back and did the same remote view over and over again multiple times to check myself, to check and balance, to make sure that I was in the right homeostatic status, the hemisync status, and that my subconscious was the one coming forward and not my logical, analytical, conscious mind. So let's get into reading of the notes now. Okay, so what happened to Nolan Wells was yesterday's, thank gosh, before all hell broke loose, Sunday, July 26th, remote viewing number 2. And I asked, what happened to Nolan Wells? Okay, and the first thing I see is I'm brought to a boat. And he's on the boat. And there is a confrontation going on. Like, there's a confrontation going on. There's a fight on the boat. And at first, I'm taken to a timeline that's more advanced. And then I had to go backwards because I had to ask where one fit before the next, because the first flash I'm seeing is that he tries to interject in this fight. He tries to stop this fight. Like, y'all, it's all good. Calm down. And I know his friends are saying, no. I was the one fighting, saying I want my cell phone back. And I believe them. I mean, Officer Tatum interviewed them all. If you haven't watched, I might show a clip or so here. I believe his friends. I believe his friends didn't do anything here. And I don't believe that was that fight. But I do see he did try to interject in a fight. Okay. And I do see that he gets pushed overboard. He gets pushed overboard in the water. Okay. But the problem is I'm being given snippets and I have to fill the gaps in. And I was really hoping to do that with the tarot today. But again, I'm sorry. I've had very little sleep. I don't do well without sleep. It's a miracle I'm even here. So, and then I'm given this flash of somebody dragging him up onto the sand from the water, which obviously there's a big gap and timeline between somebody pushing him over and then being pulled up by one person, like by his arms, like by his wrists, like his arms over his head. And he's unconscious at the very least. And then I ask for the remote viewing to place me in the time before that. Like, when did that happen? Because I'm confused at this point, because between this and my first remote view, I'm like, at what point is this happening? Because I see a confrontation on the beach. Now we've got another one on a boat. So now I'm seeing, when I show you the Pascal show clip, which I'm going to pull up now. Okay, so the video I was telling you, the first remote viewing, I show you this clip that Pascal showed on the Pascal show.
This is the middle of the party. This could be at 4 o'clock. This could be at 3:03 p.m. in the afternoon. We do not know, but we do have footage of him out here, allegedly, him out here on another boat, hanging out with some other people. And I'm wondering if 5-0 is actually interrogating, investigating, and asking this boat some questions, the people on this boat some questions. Not like they can actually talk to a boat.
Okay. So I go back now and I ask, hey, I need a timeline, because like I got all these things going on. One's going on before the other. I need them in a sequence, please, Spirit. When I go back in to do the remote view again, that's why I said it's not that I was questioning, like doubting. Let me explain. I don't doubt the visions I'm getting. It's my interpretation. I get the visions as a channel. It's up to me to interpret them correctly. So I'm always checking myself. So I see, as I asked to go back, I'm seeing not the boat he's on, but the other one. I'm shown where there's the clip when he's on that boat. And then later, he and Katie are in the water. I'm trying to see if that's them in the water. There he is on that boat. Okay. Well, I thought I saw a clip of them in the water, but this boat here, or the one beside it, they were on, I want to say 2 boats over, because I'm pretty sure it was white, not the black one. You can see Nolan Wells bending down. You can see 2 girls in hats on a paddleboard. So when I asked for them to go backwards, and I have to pull this picture up I'm talking to you about, not the black boat, the white boat behind. So again, I first go into my remote view. I'm seeing this fight and somebody getting mad and pushing Nolan over the back of the boat. And then I'm seeing somebody dragging him up by the arms, alone, one person, onto the beach. And he doesn't appear to be conscious. However, they're not in sequence. So now I go back and ask, can you please show me like what the dang went on before this push of Nolan? And that's where I'm shown like a fight breaks out on the boat. And it's a good sized boat. And there's, I want to say 8 people, 6 to 8 people. Because I'm shown almost in, okay, so if we can use the one that Nolan's on, almost in like where that pole is, in the right corner of the boat. So it's starboard side, the right of the boat. If you're looking at the front of the boat, for those that aren't boat people, like I'm not a super great boat person anymore. From the front, if you're looking out at the front of the boat, to the right would be that corner in the back, in the, not the front of the boat, but the back of the boat, in the hull area, that I see like this kind of thing going on, like a argument, if you will. And I see Nolan standing there, and I'm shown like this arrow of Nolan. He's there, and I believe he's trying to calm the situation down. And then this guy, this I want to say white Caucasian, wearing a white t-shirt with short dark hair, somewhat curly. Not his friend though. Okay. And he's the one, I believe, that pushes Nolan, because I believe Nolan tried to calm him down. So I do see Nolan getting into 2 confrontations. So I don't know if it's the same guy, but I sense that it is. I sense that it's the same guy. So then I ask him which boat the fighting is on, and he shows me he and Katie walking where that paddleboard is towards another boat. But I don't see the black boat. I'm shown a farther distance where, and a white boat where that white boat is, which is why I'm saying I believe that fight took place 2 boats over from that one. And the fights, that's where the fight breaks out. He shows me his, again, I go back and he shows me, yeah, because I want to know like the timeline. Is this like, are your friends here at this point in time, or are they gone? And he shows me the view that I got in my first remote view. And I say he because I'm channeling and I don't know who, but it could be Nolan. I'm not sure, because I'm doing remote viewing, but at the same time, I feel like I'm in, I don't know. I feel like there's some sort of channeling going on. I'm shown the panoramic view of when the first remote view where he's on the beach and his friends are out heading back, trying to get their boat bailed out from sinking. And so he's behind. So when this fight breaks out on the boat is after the 3 p.m., 3:30 or 4. His friends had not seen him after 3, but they left at 4:30. So he's showing me his friends having left. So it would have been after 4:30 when that fight breaks out. And he shows me that, this is when, this is the timeline after they've left, that their boat is, he's worried it's going to sink. And so he's staying behind. And then I ask, this is why I said I think I'm channeling. Oh, sorry. I had a perfect view, but now it doesn't want to. I asked, did you hit your head in the water? Okay. When you got pushed over, like, because again, like, did nobody notice you? Like, what the dang? Did you hit your head when you went into the water? I think so. And remember in my first remote view, I said, I see him in the water, like floating around, unconscious, if you will. And he shows me that they're all still in the boat. And I don't know that I don't even know that they're registered that he's hit his head, he's unconscious. I think they just think Hey, Nolan got pushed over. He just landed on his feet. So I don't know, man. I do not think he was deceased. Because I don't even know if I want to say this. I do get the perception that he was dragged onto the island and left there unconscious, and that he does eventually get woken up to being strangled and choked out. That's a big, like, I hear the N-word being used. I hear shut up. I see a push again, and I feel like there's this, yeah, in the trees. Later on that evening, I'd hate to say it, like I really was hoping that I was wrong in the first remote viewing, but if we go to the comparison between the first one and the second one now, let's jump to that. So now if we compare my remote viewing sessions, okay, number 1 to number 2. Number 1, the timeline asks to see what happened from the beginning to the end. And number 2 specifically asks to go before the critical event and continue with the timeline. I get that the friends said goodbye, that they did leave him behind on the island. I get that in both number 1 remote viewing and number 2. And I do get the impression that his friends are not involved, that they were not the ones that, left him in the water unconscious, that Katie stays behind, does speak with Nolan, and I'm given the vision of he and Katie walking together towards this white boat. Then this white boat, he was intending to get on the ride back to the mainland. I don't know if that's the white boat that they were going to get a ride back on. I don't know, but I do get the sense that Katie's with him, and then they go to that white boat together where others are gathered. I did get the atmosphere on remote 1 that someone was watching and something felt off, and someone was watching Nolan. I get that feeling like I could feel somebody watching behind me. Like that's how it felt. And then the atmosphere on this second remote viewing is also tension, but now it's on the boat and not on the island. So I'm very confused because it seems like somebody's not telling us if these remote views are accurate, which again, I believe I'm the channeler. It's my interpretation. But I mean, I'm being shown these escalating fights. I'm positive it's the same person. And I'm shown, 2 confrontations. So the atmosphere is tense with somebody watching Nolan, tense when they leave the boat and arrive on this other boat. There's this escalation already happening. There's a confrontation that some male comes up after Nolan speaking with the girls on the beach. Then I get an argument underway when Nolan attempts to calm another situation down on this new boat that they get to. And there's this physical altercation. I'm seeing in both remote viewings, there's a strong pushing and shoving in remote viewing 1, pushing and shoving in remote viewing 2. It's so interesting to see these graphs because that is definitely consistent. And I'm looking for patterns, right? But this time I'm given more information about I said white male the first time, but this time I see white male wearing a white t-shirt with short, dark, curly hair. Entry into the water. Both times I feel like I am floating unconscious in the water. Especially in remote viewing 1, I could feel myself in the water. And then in this second one, he appears to be in the water and nobody knows he's unconscious. And that's the sense that I get. Unsure if he's unconscious because of a head injury or I think they just think he's like, when they see him, like he's like unconscious, like passed out, drunk, like he's just, I don't know. I need to clarify that, but I do think he gets hit in the head because I asked him if he gets hit in the head. He says, I think so. and I can feel definitely in remote viewing 1, he's unconscious, and in remote viewing 2 session, it's just the sense that I'm getting. I don't feel like the waves, like I'm not in the water feeling it, but I just get this sense like he's just there in the floating and nobody realizes. And that's why I asked, do you think you hit your head on the way down? So it's very different remote viewings, but the same sense outcome I'm getting from both. If that makes sense. The friend's awareness, friends were already gone, I get in remote viewing number 1. And again, impression that the friends did not realize that the Nolan was unconscious is a separate group of friends, but he's validating again that his buddies, the guy that Tatum, Officer Tatum, interviews, his real core friend group that he went there with, they're gone. He's validating that to me. I also get this trees twice. I see him being at that part of the island, the western tip where there are trees. Both remote viewing, I get a validation of somebody in the trees with him. And lastly, but not least, I was very, very much hoping that this case would show, remote viewing wise, to have been accidental in nature. But I'm not getting that impression at all. I'm getting definite impressions that he separates from his friends. Katie becomes this key figure in the timeline. A white male becomes involved. A confrontation occurs. There's physical contact that occurs. Nolan somehow ends up unconscious. Water is central to what happens to him near the area of the island where there's trees that are significant in nature on the western tip of the island, closest to the mainland. And the friends, his core group of friends, are not involved, do not appear to witness the critical event. And he did appear to knowingly choose to not go with them as he was concerned the boat was sinking, and he deliberately left his phone behind on the boat. Again, in this remote viewing, I see, he shows me Katie walking with him towards this white boat, not the Big Daddy boat, but the 2 boats over. When they get there, there's already an argument occurring in the right starboard side of the back of the boat. The right side, if you're looking at the boat's bow from the back of the boat where the motor is, and you're looking forward, it's the right side in the back section of the boat. And this time I see that this gentleman appears to, he tries to sort of chill out everybody. Hey, let's just have fun here, you know. And I see this white male with a white t-shirt and short, dark, curly hair, kind of pushes him like, hey, mind your own business. And I do see Nolan going over the boat in the water, but I think he's there unconscious for some time or floating. That's just the sense that I'm getting, because maybe of the first remote viewing, that they don't even realize, and that I think they just think he's floating and he's kind of like drunk, and you know, and eventually I think somebody drags him onto the island, because I'm given that view of somebody pulling him up, and I think they just leave him there thinking he's got too much booze in his system and he's going to just sober up. But when we get to the end, I really get the feeling that there's more involved, like somebody's literally, I'm very much hoping that that is not going to be consistent. But so far, it feels like there's something nefarious that did happen, whether I did not want to have that impression. And I certainly was not anticipating this outcome in this case. I really, really was hoping for accidental, you know. Anyways, everybody, do all the YouTubey things. Thanks for being here. For those of you that want the update on Pixie, trauma. I have trauma from last night. I took her, if you don't know, a stray kitten in July 12th. My daughter had taken 3 from the litter the night before, July 11th. I brought Pixie home, and she did sound congested, and she looked at us like, oh my God, you saved my life, little kitten, you know, love you. Took her to the vet. They thought it was an upper respiratory infection, which it probably was. And I talked to my daughter, the nurse, just like a couple of hours ago because my kids were out of town without cell reception, camping, and I was supposed to go on that family camping trip, but didn't go because of Pixie and not feeling well. And the vet I spoke with, and we were going to take her in, and she sounded like she was making improvements and take her back for like more, second follow-up visit. But she had made improvements, and then she started to sort of pan out. And then when she went downhill, it was fast. So I need to take her to the vet. And now, when everything can go wrong all at the same time, that's what happens. I have a flat tire, have limited resources. I got to take her to the emergency vet because she's like hyperventilating and she can't breathe. And I'm freaking out, and her gums were literally blue. And when I get her there, they check her oxygen. They have to rush her at some point to the back for oxygen. I mean, and I had to take a lift over there. My daughter finally gets back into cell phone reception, orders me a lift while I'm getting changed, trying to find the kitten, get her in, at this point, because I've gone to get changed and I can't see her now. Get her in my crate and get the lift because I have a flat tire. Like, fuck. So anyway, it was so disastrous. I have taken my other pet, Sarah, and I expected better. But of course, that's when I had $20,000 to dish out for my dog who needed back surgery. Yeah, I take my 2 dogs, litter mates, to the groomers. One needs back surgery later, true story. And the other one has an M engraved in his tail. Try reporting that. There's no reporting agency for that shit. Anyways, yeah. I told you my chart is about digging into deep, like dirty, and my nose will find the dirty every time. So I'm freaking out. They wanted an incubator overnight in oxygen. They still, are claiming to need a bunch of other tests. And I'm saying, look, I think honestly, like, I don't have $3,000 to incubator, and I'm bawling because the guilt that I'm feeling as she's grasping for air. I should get you the quote. I should show you the $3,000 quote. And Brianna and I are trying to apply for a payment plan that they go through with their company, but they don't allow people from Quebec, where I live now, to apply. And for some reason, Brianna cuts, yeah, we'll give you, but we're not going to give you nearly what you need, comes back. And they're like, yeah, we get that all the time, or we don't really know what their criteria is. Oh, well, thank you for offering me a useless service then. That's so kind of you. Anyways, so it was me crying, stabilizing. They gave her this massive syringe. Oh, this was $565 later, and 2 Uber rides, and I'm not done. Wait till you hear this. She had to get this massive syringe of water because she was dehydrated. And they're like guilt tripping my other vet because she should have really known that this was going to turn into pneumonia. And I said, like, I think the vet, what happened is she was a stray. I have not limited her food. She's been gorging on the food. And I think she got better and then plateaued and then went downhill because it did progress to pneumonia because the vet didn't compensate, which for an adjusted weight. So my younger daughter came back home yesterday because she had to work today. And my oldest daughter and her husband have the week off because they don't have daycare for 3 weeks in the summer. And so they have this week off. So they stayed an extra night camping. So she just literally called me like an hour or two ago. Okay, it's 2:44. Like, she had to get on a call before 1 at 1 o'clock. So less than 2 hours ago. And she's an ER nurse. And so not quite the same thing. But she's like, they should have upped the medication. It's a standard with an infant in the hospital. Like, we know they're going to gain so much weight. Within 5 days, you're always upping the antibiotic dosage. Otherwise, there's not enough. So the emergency hospital was mad at my original vet. I'm mad at my original vet. I'm overwhelmed. I can't afford what they're suggesting. I feel like a useless TIT. I never want to be put in that position again. I had to borrow money from my daughter to get the Uber there, pay for the vet. She has to go back later this week. I had to use my food money for the rest of the month. And I've been made to feel guilty. But then the worst part, of it is, It's 5 o'clock now, Sunday night, and they don't have the meds she needs. And my granddaughter hasn't napped all day. Brianna's just come in from out of town. My granddaughter Rory's crying. You know, it's like they were camping with my other daughter and my grandsons and my both son-in-laws. And it was like poor Brianna. So she drives over to the vet because they told me, I said, I came here in a Lyft. Like, where am I getting this medicine? Like, you want me to call a pharmacy for pet medicine? Yeah. They all have it. I'm like, the psychic in me is like, no. I'm not getting into the Lyft until I have the medicine. It's 5 o'clock Sunday night. Most pharmacies close at 6 on a Sunday here. And they're like, oh, they all carry it. Just get in the Lyft, get out, you'll be fine. I'm like, okay, you're rushing my cat out to the back room for oxygen. You know, she needed $3,000 of incubation overnight at your best estimate, your first quote, for oxygen because she can't breathe. She's dehydrated, but I'm supposed to just puppy around town, just lollygag around town like a tourist looking for the vet for the right prescription. I was so fucking livid at that point because I just felt the change from, oh, here's the client that paid 20,000 or 16, whatever, 19 something it turned out to be, or 20,000 something in total for my dog that she now can't pay 3,000 for her cat. Like I felt like they really did not believe me. And then it just changed. It just, the attitude changed. It took me an hour and a half with my daughter waiting in the parking lot with Rory crying, having not napped, to find a pharmacy. So after 45 minutes on my own, and most of them weren't even answering the phone on a Sunday just before closing, I went outside and complained, and I said, I'd like to speak to the vet again because I came in with an emergency and you're basically sending me out saying, good luck, you know? And the vet's like, well, you know, we offered you the solution, but you can't afford to pay it. Like, that was literally the attitude. I was so disgusted and traumatized by that. Like, I've told y'all after what happened to me with my dad financially that my daughters have paid for it. Like, we've all had to pitch in the cost of living, me losing my clients. Like, it's been a shit show, and it's a true serious problem for us. And so I was just watching her gasp and stuff. So, and I got zero instructions after that. So I'm like, okay, so you told me she's dehydrated. Is anybody going to tell me how? Like I got no instructions. Took us an hour and a half to find the pharmacy. So I got home just before 8, and I was given the prescription at 5 after finally getting her the prescription, and my daughter getting us to the pharmacy and I getting home. So imagine doing that in an Uber. Yeah, thank you. So after I complained, then the 3 receptionists that had basically nobody there all day, there was one other person in and out. Well, 3 sets of families, but only one other person at the same time I was there. I was in the front room, and then another family came in, left, came in, left, came in, left. 3 times in the other room. That was it. They were not packed. They were not packed, and they were laughing at the front. And then I think they started to finally feel bad that I couldn't find a pharmacy for her. And I was bawling because she's gasping. I can't afford the oxygen. I felt like a useless tit, not having the money to help her. I don't ever want to be in that situation again. And I was getting the guidance. I don't want to talk about the signs here because this is going in my book. Anyways, so before I get back to the signs, I come home, I had no guidance. So I Googled, and, ChatGPT, like, that's a risk. Had my first doctor had said, put her in a warm shower. So I did that. And then I ChatGPT'd. It's like, oh, no, with pneumonia. Oh, shit. So I take her out. She's now she was in the crate. Not happy about it, but so she's just confined to a very small area now because she can't move, because when she moves, it stresses out her lungs. She was so low oxygen that I was up till 4 o'clock in the morning counting her breaths, 10 seconds. So that's why I'm tired. I have not slept, barely. She made it through the night. But but she's still very rapidly shallow breathe. Like, yeah, it's very traumatic to watch when she has an episode. So we're praying for the next, 2 days, 3 days, she shows improvements. But yeah, it was the signs, because I get in the first Uber and I meet a man from South Africa, new to Canada. His wife just died of cancer. He hasn't seen her in 2 years. His kids are teenagers in Africa and he wants to sponsor them to Canada. And I was telling him about, because I get the psychic sense that, he wants to make more money. So I start talking to him about real estate. And he's like, yeah, I've met a lot of friends through church here. How religious are you? And I'm like, dude, you have no idea how spiritual I am, just not a churchgoer. So I tell him about my high school experience at a Catholic church, whatever. And then he's like, well, let's pray for your kitten. And he puts on some Catholic singing music. And I was just like, oh my God, it was just like a church radio station on a Sunday. And I was like, I couldn't have had the more perfect guy drive me there. I just needed the prayers. And so thank you for all your prayers. And it cost $700 yesterday that I used my food money for, but mainly my daughter's for. And I have to go back to the vet this week, but let's pray that she turns around and this makes it all worthwhile in the next couple days. Thank you for watching. Do all the YouTube things. We're going to do Nancy Guthrie in a day or so, as soon as I get sleep. Love and light. Cheers.